Great. So, hello, David, Leach, Nguyen, yes, and Karuna and Anna. C. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in a few minutes, so we have time to settle in.
Hello? Test. Hello?
Hello, Jeremy.
Can you see me or is it too dark?
Hi there, Francie and Tom. And Iridia. Hi there, Ricky. Hi, Steph. So we'll just wait a few minutes, about 5 minutes, for people to join in. And if we're already here, those 5 minutes are to settle in, to get comfortable. Hello, Bebin and Moon and Cliff. Sana, welcome. Welcome, Morgan. So everyone is invited to turn on their camera if it's convenient for you. If it's possible, then you can turn it on. And like Aridia mentioned in the chat, the voice text chat, can help with accountability. So we really feel that we are in this space, that we are seen, that we see others. We really feel that we're here. And so it's that extra layer of encouragement to practice wholeheartedly, to practice with great sincerity. Okay, so our practice today is going to be a short meditation. Start with a short meditation. Then we will read the final chapter of the Zen teachings from Master Empty Cloud that we've been going through for the past 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks now. So we'll read the finale, the final chapter of those teachings. And then to close off, we will take the 8 precepts together. I will offer, you will receive the 8 precepts. All right, so let's start off with our group meditation practice. You can find your meditation position. Come across your intention in practicing. So you can ask the question, why am I practicing? Why am I here? And find an answer that's meaningful for you. An answer that has some depth and some truth to it. Why are you here? Why are you practicing meditation? Finding that answer, it doesn't need to be a book, doesn't need to be a thesis, but finding that answer inside, we can start to take a few deep breaths. So 2 or 3 deep breaths. Breathing in deeply through the nose and out. Deeply through the nose and out. And as we breathe deeply in this way, we bring the mind, we bring our intention home to the body. We connect deeply with the body, with our intention, with our sincerity to practice. That is to practice the meditation method. A good meditation method is simple, direct, and one that you understand clearly, understand easily. So commonly we practice to focus on the breath. We can breathe deeply and follow the breath. Follow the course of the breath as it enters in through the nose, goes down our throat into the lungs. So breathing deeply, breathing fully, and bringing our awareness into the body. And as our awareness comes home to the body, we can start to really settle, to allow the body to become more and more still, more and more calm. we can begin to practice our meditation method, focusing on the breath as it flows in and flows out. And for these few moments, practicing with all of our sincerity, with our body and mind coming together to just sit, to just breathe, to just be aware. All doing stops, all chasing stops. It's just to sit, just to breathe, just to be aware. The sound of the bell invites us to go even deeper in our practice of just breathing, just being aware. So we will read the final chapter of our book on the Zen teachings from Master Empty Cloud, modern day Chan Zen Tien master from China, who has since passed away, but very wise monk. And before we read that final chapter, I'd just like to read a short Zen essence, a bit of Zen perfume on the subject of vanity. Then we'll go into the final chapter. So, on vanity from Pao Chi, old monk, now just bones and ashes. How many ignorant people in the world try to seek the way by means of the way, searching widely amongst a profusion of doctrines, searching widely amongst so many doctrines, so many teachings, they cannot save themselves. Only pursuing the confused explanations of others' writings, they claim to have arrived at the subtlety of reality as it is, wasting a life in idle labors, non-practical activity. They sink forever in birth and death. When polluted attachment binds the mind unrelentingly, the mind of pure knowledge afflicts itself. The forest of the cosmos of realities turns into a wasteland of brambles. As long as you cling to yellow leaves as gold, you won't know to give up the gold for jewels. The reason you lose your mind and run around crazily is that you forcibly try to keep up appearances. You may be reciting scriptures and teachings in your mouth, but in your heart you are always lifeless. If you realize the original mind is empty someday, the fullness of reality as is will not leave you lacking. If you realize the original mind is empty someday, the fullness of reality as is will not leave you lacking. There will be no more wasted efforts in searching, chasing after nonsense. Chapter 13, Conclusion. The ancients had the same problems with time that we have. They said, days pass like a shuttle in a loom. First one way, then the other way, back and forth, side to side. Sometimes they said, days pass like arrows overhead. We stand there and watch them fly by, wondering where they are all going. In a Zen teaching session, the instruction period passes quickly. Like time, ideas, and opinions go this way and that. On which side will the thread end? Arrows of insight fly overhead. Will any strike its target? We won't know until the great reckoning at the end of the teaching session. In Zen, as in most things in life, we're never sure we understand something we've just been taught until we've been tested. Teachers call this testing paying the check. On the last day of the teaching retreat, all of the students are assembled, and the teacher randomly calls on this person, then that person, on, asking all sorts of pointed questions. So this is referring to at the end of a meditation retreat, a teaching retreat. So you go to a temple, you go to a meditation center, a Zen center for 5 days, 7 days, 1 week. And at the end of that Zen teaching session, on the last day of the teaching session, all of the students are assembled and the teacher randomly calls on this person, then that person, on, asking all sorts of pointed questions. That's what we call presenting a student with the check. He has to get up in front of the entire class and submit to the interrogation. How much did you learn? Pay up. Teachers get paid with good answers. Of course, in any session, if even one person manages to attain enlightenment, they pay the check for everybody. All share the joy when someone succeeds in attaining the truth. So what did you learn from these lessons? Maybe you paid the check for everybody and attained enlightenment. Maybe you're not sure and need a little time to think about it, to mull these Zen ideas over in your mind, to let the thoughts settle a bit before you see what you've got. Take all the time you need. Just don't cease the mulling process. Just don't cease the process of processing, looking, considering, contemplating. Don't end that practice. Keep Zen in your mind. Redefine your priorities rather than outside story-based priorities of getting this and getting that, building this and building that. Redefine your priorities. Cultivate patience. One summer day, the Buddha decided to take a long walk. He strolled down the road alone, just enjoying the earth's beauty. Then, at a crossroad, he came upon a man who was praying. The man recognized the enlightened one. The man recognized the Buddha, knelt before him and cried, "Lord, life is indeed bitter and painful. I was once happy and prosperous, but through trickery and deceit, those I loved took everything from me. I am rejected and scorned. Tell me, Lord, tell me, great teacher," is the meaning of it, he asked. "How many times must I be reborn into such wretched existence before I finally know the bliss of nirvana?" The Buddha looked around and saw a mango tree. "Do you see that tree?" he asked. The man nodded. Then the Buddha said, "Before you know freedom from sorrow, you must be reborn as many times as there are mangoes on that tree." Now, the mango tree was in full fruit, and dozens of mangoes hung from it. The man gasped, "But Lord," he protested, "I have kept your precepts. I have lived righteously. Why must I be condemned to suffer so much longer?" The Buddha sighed, because that is how it must be, and he continued his walk. He came to another crossroad and found another man praying, and this man too knelt before him. "Lord, Life is indeed bitter and painful, the man said. I have known such anguish. As a boy, I lost my parents. As a man, I lost my wife and beautiful children. How many times must I be reborn into such wretched existence before I come to finally know the refuge of your love? The Buddha looked around and saw a field of wild flowers. Do you see that field of wild flowers? He asked. The man nodded. Then the Buddha said, before you know freedom from sorrow, you must be reborn as many times as there are blossoms in that field. Seeing so many hundreds of flowers, the man cried, but Lord, I have been a good person. I have always been honest and fair, never harming anyone. Why must I be made to endure so much more suffering? The Buddha sighed, because that is how it must be. And he continued on his way. At the next crossroad, he met yet another man who knelt before him in supplication, in great devotion, great respect. Lord, life is indeed bitter and painful, the man said. Days toiling under the burning sun, nights laying on the cold, wet earth. So much hunger and thirst and loneliness. How many more times must I be reborn into such wretched existence before I may walk with you in paradise? The Buddha looked around and saw a tamarind tree. Now each branch of the tamarind tree has many stems, and each stem has dozens of little leaves. Do you see that tamarind tree? The Buddha asked. The man nodded. Then the Buddha said, before you know freedom from sorrow, you must be reborn as many times as there are leaves on that tamarind tree. The man looked at the tamarind tree and its thousands of leaves, and his eyes filled with tears of gratitude. How merciful is my Lord, he said, and he pressed his forehead to the ground before the Buddha's feet. And the Buddha said, arise, my good friend, come with me now. And to this day, the tamarind seeds are the symbol of faithfulness and forbearance, an ability to continue regardless of the challenges, the difficulties, the confusions, a tolerance, a patient self-control. We cannot enter into contracts with the universe. We cannot say, I obeyed the rules and therefore I am entitled to receive benefits, or I've put up with more than my share of hard luck. I'm due some good luck now. The universe doesn't recognize our petty claims for justice. There are heroes who laid down their lives for the benefit of others. They have no voice to complain. Yet we know that because they were selfless, they walk in freedom. And isn't this the way to happiness? Isn't this how we enter nirvana? By losing our individual egos and gaining the universal Buddha self. Paradise comes when we surrender ourselves to it. Peace, enlightenment, awakening comes when we surrender ourselves to it. So when you are asked, how much did you learn? Even if you can't come up with specific answers, you will pay your check if you just say, however long it takes, I will stick with Chan. However long it takes, I will stick with Zen. However long it takes, I will stick with the meditation method. I will practice. I'll keep trying to rid myself of selfishness and to never forget to keep my forehead pressed to the ground before the Buddha's feet. The Buddha here representing our awakened nature, our peace nature, our compassion nature, our selfless nature. Humility and patience are golden coins. And here is a tip. Try to find a Buddha in every person you meet, and you may pay the check for thousands. When it comes to love, be a big spender. We have a picture of the master here. You can't see so good, but photography in 1920s China was not so good. You can pass around. So when it comes to love, when it comes to kindness, when it comes to patience, be a big spender. Don't be shy to share, to give up, to let go, to offer love, to offer kindness, to offer patience. Spend, 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 give, give, give. Limitlessly. So we can all feel a sense of gratitude for Master Zhu Yun, Master Empty Cloud. And so we will, having concluded the text, practice meditation with his teachings in mind. So find your meditation position. Bring to the mind these three people who the Buddha encountered on the road. The Buddha pointed out that they would have to go through a lot more difficulty before they attained awakening, before they attained liberation. And upon recognizing this, upon hearing this, all of the men, all of the people, except for the last one, were kind of taken aback, sunk into misery and whining, complaining. Why will it take so long? I've been a good person. Why is this taking so long? I want to get to enlightenment. But the last person said, cried out in joy and appreciation, because it is possible to wake up. It is possible to transcend our suffering, but we have to be patient, willing to continue in the face of adversity, not to give up so easily, not to be disheartened, not to be discouraged. So beginning with the sound of the bell, we'll practice meditation together. staying with the meditation method, relying on the meditation method, everything else just nonsense. Only the meditation method. Getting distracted, getting confused, falling asleep, or feeling stress, returning back to the meditation method. Relax, release, refresh, restart. Just follow the method. Breathing and being aware. Relax and release. Practice just breathing and being aware. It doesn't matter how real, true, important the idea is. Be aware of it. Return to practicing the method. Allow that thought, tension, idea to drop away. Just breathing and being aware. So today being Sunday, maybe it's Sunday where you are, maybe it's not. We're going to practice really to be a Buddhist. And so to be a Buddhist means a couple things, a few things. One is to kind of recognize the Buddha as the enlightened one, or to recognize your innate Buddha nature as a possibility and recognizing that the Buddha achieved that. At least that's what the Buddha represents. To take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So to take refuge means that you trust in, you rely on, you find your balance point, you find your safety point, your tether to living a good life, a happy life, dealing with suffering of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So you take refuge. The Buddha representing the historical enlightened teacher, Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha, and also meditation, representing our Buddha meditation practice. The Dharma, representing the teachings, so the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, impermanence, no self, dukkha, dissatisfaction, suffering, and a large compendium, a large plethora of teachers. Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh, me to some extent, Shang Yen. There's a lot of Buddhist teachers and Buddhist teachings, and so you take refuge in that. You rely on those teachings. You rely on the Dhamma rather than your favorite social media influencer or some self-help guru, but you rely on the Dharma, the teachings, skillful means. And finally, you take refuge in the Sangha. You don't take refuge in your boyfriend or your prospective girlfriend or even a family member, but you take refuge in the community of practitioners. You take refuge in the Buddhist community, the monks, the nuns, the Buddhist people. And there are many ways that you can do that, but in this case, you accept and participate in the process of supporting and being supported by the Buddhist community, the monks, the nuns, the Buddhist people, the Buddhist temples, everything. This community, fellow practitioners, you take refuge in that. And then finally, we will take the 8 precepts. And so these 8 precepts are kind of a deeper set or a more intensive set of the precepts that you would take if you were to be at a temple in a meditation retreat. And so the idea that we had talked about maybe yesterday or the day before is that there's this kind of idea to have Sunday being this day of practice, this day of precepts for those people who are willing to practice it, who would like to. And so even if you only take these precepts for a few hours, it's still good, because for those few hours, you're containing your mind. You're containing your life to be mindful, to be skillful, to practice renunciation, to practice giving up. Okay, so how we will do this, how it's usually done in Buddhist temples, is that I will recite the precept in Pali, and then you repeat it back to me in Pali. So I will share the text if you want to have it in front of you. Thank you, Cliff, for sharing that picture of Master Zuyun. So these are the 8 precepts and the refuges. So you can have these in front of you. I put in the voice text chat. And we will also use a little bit of this as well that I will chant independently. Okay, so we will start with paying homage, paying appreciation to the Buddha, and you can just listen. And then we will go through the taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So I will say it, and then you recite it. Basically, you just repeat after me. But for the beginning, just listen, and throughout this, we can put our hands together. So this is paying appreciation to the Buddha, our enlightened teacher, and to our Buddha nature, our enlightened nature. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So we'll now do a taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. You can repeat after me. Buddham saranam gacchami.
Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
And now we'll say in English, I take refuge in Buddha.
I take refuge in Buddha.
I take refuge in Dhamma.
I take refuge in Dharma.
I take refuge in Sangha.
I take refuge in Sangha.
A second time, I take refuge in Buddha.
A second time I take refuge in Buddha.
A second time, I take refuge in Dhamma.
A second time I take refuge in Dharma.
A second time, I take refuge in Sangha.
A second time I take refuge in Sangha.
A third time, I take refuge in Buddha.
A third time I take refuge in Buddha.
A third time, I take refuge in Dhamma.
A third time I take refuge in Dharma.
A third time, I take refuge in Sangha.
A third time I take refuge in Sangha.
So we'll now take the precepts, first in Pali and then in English. So you can try to chant along. It might be a little bit difficult, but just do as you're able. Panatipata Varamani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Panatipata Ramani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Adinadana Varamani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Adinadana Brahmani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya Varamani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya Brahmani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Musavada Varamani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Musavada Brahmani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Sura Maraya Maja Pamadatana Varamani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Sura Maya Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Vikala Bhojana Varamani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Vikala Brahmani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
Nacha Gita Vidita Vasuka Dasana Mala Ganda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatana Varamani Sikapadam Samadhiyami. Ucha Sayana Mahasayana Varamani Sikapadam Samadhiyami. Imani Atta Sikbadani Samadhiyami. So now we'll say in English. And this is when we undertake these precepts to follow these guidelines for living in our life today. It's kind of a day of following more stricter way of living. So you can say these with a lot of sincerity, a lot of heart, and you set that vow. I undertake the precept of not killing.
I undertake the precept of not killing.
I undertake the precept of not stealing.
I undertake the precept of not stealing.
I undertake the precept of not engaging in sexual activity.
I undertake the precept of not engaging in sexual activity.
I undertake the precept of not telling lies or speaking harshly.
I undertake the precept of not telling lies or speaking harshly.
I undertake the precept of not using intoxicants.
I undertake the precept of not using intoxicants.
I undertake the precept of not overeating.
I undertake the precept of not overeating.
I undertake the precept of refraining from dance, song, music, entertainment, jewelry, fragrances, cosmetics, adornments, and self-beautification.
I undertake the precept of refraining from saying, music, adornments, and self-beautification.
I undertake the precept of not using luxurious, of over luxuriating today, being overly sensual today. So I undertake the precept of not having too much luxury.
I undertake the precept of not having too much luxury.
I undertake these 8 precepts.
I undertake these 8 precepts.
Okay, so now to finish, I'll do a chanting and you just listen. And then at the very end, we'll do 3 sadhus together. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava araham samma sambuddho Vija charana sampano sugato lokavidu Anutaro porisa dhammasorati Satta deva manusanam Buddho bhagavati Swakato bhagavata dhammo Sanditiko akaliko ehipasiko opanayiko Pachatam veditabo vinuti Supatipanno bhagavato sawaka sangho Ujupatipanno bhagavato sawaka sangho Nayapatipanno bhagavato sawaka sangho Samichipatipanno bhagavato sawaka sangho Yadidam Chatari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Pugala Esa Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anutaram Punyaketam Lokasati Sadhu Sadhu. Okay. So, thank you for your participation, everyone. If you like to be officially a Buddhist, then you can consider yourself to be officially a Buddhist, having taken refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and made a commitment to follow these precepts, as well as seeing the Buddha as a representation, a real representation of your Buddha nature, your opportunity to enlighten and awaken. And if you don't want to be a Buddhist, you don't have to. You can just be a part of this as a meditation exercise, listening deeply, joining in, and it's kind of an opportunity to look a little bit closer at Buddhist practices and what it means for you to follow the precepts and what the relationship is that you have with the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Okay? So thank you everyone so much for joining. I hope that today will be a day of practice for you in following the precepts. And see you this evening, this afternoon, wherever you happen to be. Take care. Okay, so we will have a meeting now, right, here at the temple.
We have a